Welcome back, fellow football fanatics. This is College Football with Sam, and it's been a long time, but we have Kris Drew from Menace to Sports joining us to talk about a series of 5 games that I think are very fascinating and will especially be paying attention to Ohio State, Washington, and Penn State, Oregon, which I think is the game of the week, potentially the game of the year. Before we get started, please make sure to head on over to Menace to Sports and also to, I forget the name of your show, but tell us what your new show is. Dead Air Sports? That's what it is,
Oh
right?
yeah, I do some stuff with Dead Air Sports, but and a lot of Menace to Sports stuff too. I'm always on a microphone, Sam. You know that. Always on a mic.
Yeah. So go over and hit all that stuff. Give it a like, share, subscribe to those channels, hit those notification bells. Do the same things with this channel as well. I want to start us off talking about USC and Illinois for a few minutes. USC is favored by 6.5 points. It's going to be the big noon kickoff game, which I think is pretty funny because that's 9 a.m. local time for USC, 11 a.m. local time for Illinois. So it's like Texas Tech and Utah in a way where they're not actually kicking off at noon. They're just kicking off at noon from our perspective. You have any thoughts on this game? Win, cover, tell me what you think.
I think I'm really interested in what kind of team Illinois is because I held their win over Duke in pretty decent regard when it happened. The way it happened, how dominant they looked, and I felt like Luke Altmaier looked like a guy who projected as a top 5 quarterback in the conference. And he was maximizing passing opportunities that Brett Bielema gave him. And Illinois, obviously having the longest win streak in the country, at least tied for it. When they got boat raced by Indiana, it was a real confusing feeling for me because it's like, what kind of team are they really? It was one of those things where every week, Sam, I look to gain more and more information about who is who. And I thought I was close to figuring out what Illinois' upside and downside was. And then they got blown off the lot by Indiana. And so now I'm back to square one with them. I don't know how good they are. And so for me, and I'm wondering if Vegas feels the same, because 6.5 points, I think feels like too much of an underdog. I think they're
Yeah.
better than the version that they played like last week. So I don't know. I think I'm picking USC because I couldn't pull myself to pick Illinois after they got destroyed last week. But I still think deep down they might be a decent football team. So this honestly, I thought I was going to know more about this game like 2 weeks ago. I know as little about this game as ever because was here. I mean, 2 weeks ago I told you, oh yeah, like Luke Altmaier, top 5 quarterback in the conference. Jade Maeva, maybe a top 5 quarterback in the conference, but I trust Luke Altmaier in Illinois more. Now I'm not really singing that tune. So
Yeah, it's an interesting game for me because that was probably my biggest call of the year was I picked Indiana to handily destroy Illinois
yeah,
and
you
was
did.
just as happy as possible when I watched it happen. Not because I hate Illinois, but because I like Indiana that much and I loved them in the preseason. So to see them, I said in the preview video for that game that Indiana would do to Illinois what Ohio State did to Indiana, and that's exactly what happened. They were just better at every position. It was never close. It was close in a flukish way early on, but Indiana pulled away pretty quickly. I don't exactly know who Illinois is. I'm in agreement with you there. My thing is, and USC fans have said that this is incorrect because, well, our team is waking up early. I have no idea what that means. I still think that traveling close to 2,000 miles away from home and having to play that early means something. And Illinois is going to probably be pretty mad after losing by 50, 53 points on national TV to a program that they have been vastly superior than in the 21st century. And that says more about Indiana than Illinois because it's not like Illinois has been a great program. I would
I, I believe
probably,
aren't Big Ten teams 3-13 when traveling out west?
I think so.
Yeah, but you're right. I mean, it does kind of neutralize it a little bit, but I think that travel is definitely favors USC, even though they have to wake up earlier. I think it absolutely still favors them.
Even though it's in Champaign.
Oh, it's in Champaign. Okay, my bad.
You're
My
good.
bad. I had that totally twisted. I thought that you were saying the other way around. Um, hmm. So you're going USC?
Yeah, I'm going USC to win. When the line was at 7.5, I said that Illinois would cover, but it's shrunk to 6.5. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a betting expert or a betting person, but I wouldn't pick the spread there. I'd just say USC will win, but it's going to be much closer than I think a lot of the people think.
Yeah. Okay. I can get down with that. I can get down with that. Again, I'm so confused about Illinois. It's funny. This might be unfair to say. Maybe I'm rehashing the Indiana game a little bit too much. I feel like the nation would view that as a more quality win for Indiana if they didn't beat them as bad as they beat them.
That's totally fair. Totally fair. I mean, if you didn't watch that game, or like me, I watched Indiana State for like 50 minutes for
Mm-hmm.
like almost the whole game. That's how much of a degenerate I am. They look fast, big. I mean, I would pick them to beat Michigan and USC by multiple touchdowns right now. That's how good I think Indiana is.
Did you
But
hear what Ferenz said about them today?
what? Oh, like they're Ohio State a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can kind of not entirely buy it, but I can buy parts and pieces of that for
Mm-hmm.
sure. They're certainly coached like they are, and they certainly play like it in the trenches. So, absolutely. All right, let's go on and get to the first of our two big games, that being Ohio State against Washington. Take it away.
This is fascinating. I think that, this Washington team is really athletic. I like the Denzel Boston kid on the outside. I like Damon Williams at quarterback. I think this will be a case of how will the Ohio State defense handle a more athletic quarterback in a far better team than OU? And then how will Julian Sand handle his first real road test? Now, Ryan Day said today that they are going to go to a silent count to get ready for Washington. That's something that they've been working on for 2 weeks. I would feel much worse about that if they didn't have the bye week to give them additional practice time to get ready for this. But with that being said, I am a believer in this Washington team. If I had an AP poll, they would be somewhere between 19 and 25 for me. I think they should be ranked. And it's honestly a shame that they aren't ranked. This team does have the full attention of Ohio State. But Sam, I do think this is a close game. I could see this being like, a 30-23 game. I could see this being, a 26-23. I think this will be a game where Washington is able to have some success against Ohio State, offensively. But I think that Ohio State is going to score 21 first. I think that's going to be the difference in this game. One of the things that kind of I'm worried about matchup wise is the Denzel Boston kid going up against Igbinosun. Igbinosun had his first holding penalty 2 weeks ago. That's going to be a big physical matchup. And is Washington going to be able to capitalize on that front? Washington, though, this year has not been very good on first down. I think that can kind of play into the hands of Matt Patricia, just what the data says. But all in all, I think Ohio State is a very, very talented team. And as long as they don't have too many self-inflicted wounds, Julian Sand in particular, I do pick them to win this game.
That's kind of where I'm at. I think it will be close. I think that Ohio State probably wins by 7 or by more than a field goal, somewhere between 3, 4, 7 points. And I think that's because they're the vastly more talented team. So even though they're traveling on the road to a tough environment, I don't pick Ohio State to lose these games. I mean, Washington, I would rank them if I could. From a power ratings perspective, that's how I like to do things. And they are top 25 in FPI, and I imagine they're top 25 in S&P Plus, though I don't know that for sure. But the only teams that beat Ohio State are teams that have matchup advantages that really like take away things Ohio State wants to do, or they are national title caliber teams. And I don't think Washington is either of those things. I don't. They don't have an amazing defensive line. Their offensive line, I don't know if it actually is putrid, but from what I saw against Washington State, it did look pretty bad. I think Williams does a lot for them, and I think he'll do a lot in this game. I'm kind of thinking that both of these teams score in the 30s, but Ohio State's going to score more points because, yeah, they're more talented at basically every position. The only position I'd actually give Washington right now is probably running back and quarterback. But coaching, every other position, I think would handily go Ohio State's way here. So, yeah, I would pick him to win. Um, what do you think others are seeing? Like, people who know what they're talking about? Because that line, depending on where you look, keeps shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. And I don't know what to make of it, really.
We know what it opened up at.
13.5, right?
Right. 14.5, I think,
Oh,
is
wow.
for some books. So very high and quickly got kind of squished down. I saw the college football graphs analytic chart that they do with the expectancy stuff said that, had this game somewhere between like, I think 26 to 23 was kind of the final score their computer model likes, based on like all the expectancy ratings that they've gotten over the past couple weeks. I think this will be a close game, dude. Like, here's the thing. The casual college football fan, I don't think realizes how hostile an environment Washington is. It's hostile. Like for I believe over 20 years, they held the record for loudest decibel in a single moment during a game.
Wow.
They just got broken by Tennessee 2 years ago against Georgia. So that's how long they held that record. The capacity about 70,000, and they've got the aluminum up top that deflects the sound back down, similar to Oregon, but less dramatic, but similar kind of thing. So it's really loud. And for Julian saying, like, that's someone who's been really comfortable using helmet comms. And so we're going to see, like, how that crowd impacts his ability to communicate. Ryan Day already said it's going to be the silent cadence, and usually that's good for, 2 or 3 false starts a game, Sam?
Yeah.
So this game could be one of those games that's pretty murky early. And knowing what we know about Julian Sand, this is just a test for him. And for his first road test to be against, a top 5 loudest stadium in college football, albeit it will not be at night, against the team that is going to try to squeeze him, try to keep him cold, try to keep him off the field, which is what this run game does and what Damon Williams does. I mean, it could present like a fascinating challenge, and it's going to be even more fascinating if Ryan Day and Brian Hartline don't open it up. And like we saw them like not really open it up against Texas, trust the defense to win the game. I think they're going to have to open it up and at least have some silencer moments to silence the crowd. And that's going to require a big play every now and again. So Julian Sand, actually, here we go, Sam. Fun fact for you: Julian Sand has not missed a single deep ball all year.
That's
100%
impressive.
completion percentage on deep balls.
Very impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's often a cliche that the quarterback decides the game. I actually think in a game we'll talk about later for Oregon Penn State, I don't think quarterback decides that game. And maybe that's controversial, but here it absolutely does, because one thing Washington actually does well on defense is they allow fewer than 4 yards per carry. Like, their pass defense is pretty bad from what I've watched in the analytics, but they're only allowing 3.5 yards per carry or something, and that's taking away the sacks. So that's how you know it's legit. He's going to have to throw and be on target, or this Ohio State rushing attack is going to have to show us something that we haven't seen yet this year. That's going to be really fascinating, but I ultimately just trust Ryan Day. I mean, the only games they're going to lose were Texas. They beat them, and then it's just, I think, Penn State and Michigan that are left.
Bingo.
All right.
No, I 100% agree. The Ohio State run game has been pretty pedestrian. Bo Jackson, I think, is the most explosive, but I know he's got some ball security things they want to clean up. And the Ohio State right guard spot's been a little bit of a mess. So I'm curious to see those things come into play because, obviously, like, continuity is really important. And if you go silent count with, rotating the O-line, you could end up messing up some chemistry and rhythm.
That's like Indiana at Ohio State. Like, new O-line, silent count, 1-2, dead, punt. And then muffed punt before halftime. Yeah. Over under on how many games before Bo Jackson's running back won?
I think this is the week. Well, I don't know if he'll start, but I think he'll see the line share the carries.
Okay.
Right. I mean, Sam, you watch enough football. You and I both see it, right? Like, he's clearly the best back, right?
Yeah, he's beyond the most explosive. Like, it's like Travion Henderson. Oh, I just find like a little tiny crack and boom, gone.
I'll take the mile. Like you give me 1 centimeter, I'll take the mile. Like we all see it. And it's funny because in the Grambling game, there was a moment where he, had some ball security things, and Ryan Day lit him up. And people are like, why is he lighting him up? They're up 63-0. And that's why, because I think they want to play him. They just want to be able to trust him first. And it's like Travian, his freshman year, like he wasn't the starting running back. But then when it was time to go win a game versus Oregon, he was the one that played the entire second half.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm fascinated to see how long, because I think him and Donaldson would be a very good pair, where Donaldson can pick up short yards because he always falls forward. And then, yeah. I don't know what happened with James Peoples. Like, I never thought he was going to be J.K. Dobbins.
Me either.
But I just, I
thought he'd be Mike Weber, and he's not even that.
Yeah, I mean, I expect things out of Ohio State players, unless they consistently show me they aren't. So,
Right.
Oh well, he's pretty young. I imagine at some point he'll get better and maybe have a bigger impact.
Correct. Yeah, true sophomore.
Indiana and Iowa. Are you thinking what I'm thinking, where it could be trappy, but I think Indiana is just so good and matches up so well with Iowa that they're going to burn that place down?
I'm going Indiana blowout against everybody except Ohio State and Oregon until I see otherwise. Like, I think they're going BTA. I think they're really, really good. I think they're going to blow Iowa out. I think Cignetti is like the perfect, like, non-trap coach.
Yes.
Because everything is like pedal to the metal, and part of the Cignetti like business model, coaching model, is to run up the score against teams they can run up the score against. So he's going to take this as another opportunity to run up the score. I have Indiana big here, and I have Indiana big every week until they play the big dogs, until further notice.
That's perfectly sensical, I think. I'm not picking them to beat Oregon or Penn State yet, just because of the talent scaling things. I think that Indiana, Penn State would be like 2021 Georgia, Michigan. Penn State can probably do everything a little bit better than IU, minus maybe quarterback, but we'll see. It's early. And then Oregon, Autzen off a bye. If Oregon loses, especially, they're going to be mad. If they win, you still have that talent advantage and travel. It's a tough schedule when looking at how they have to play their big games, even if you don't look at it from an Indiana perspective. Like, if that was Ohio State's road slate, which it was last year, Ohio State fans would say, oh, that's tough. Michigan fans would hate having to go to Beaver Stadium and Autzen in that way. So, yeah, I think Indiana's going to run it up. I think they can do everything Iowa does and so much more and better. I mean, even special teams. They can block punts. They would have blocked 2 Illinois punts back-to-back if not for a holding call.
Bingo.
It's just crazy how good they are. They're an
anomaly. They're an anomaly, man. They're unbelievable.
So speaking of anomalies, do you think that they are an actual top 5 team, or could be that? Or do you need to see more?
It's funny. You said that you won't pick them to beat Penn State today. I probably wouldn't either, but I'm closer, I think, than you are.
I understand.
I wonder how explosive Penn State's offense could be in a game like that. And I think, like, if you're really talented, that's awesome. And I believe in, like, talent scaling. But I do think the one thing that could kind of ruin talent scaling is really elite production and talent from your outside receivers. They can almost neutralize some of the scoring stuff. So I wouldn't pick them to beat Penn State, but I'm a lot closer than you are. And I don't feel comfortable putting Indiana in my top 5 because of talent alone, but I feel pretty comfortable anywhere between 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah. FPI has them 6th, tied with Texas in rating, which is just
wild.
Yes. Wild.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
Neutral site, who would you pick, LSU or Indiana?
Indiana would beat them by 3 or more scores.
And that's where I go to the talent scaling, though, right?
Fair.
Because it's like, I believe pretty close to my core in talent scaling. Sometimes there's an anomaly team that makes me really, like, question a little bit, because I would pick Indiana to destroy LSU.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the non-negotiable there is that LSU's offensive line has really struggled, and Indiana's lines of scrimmage are just insanely good. That's where I think they could, and I wouldn't pick it today, but they could beat Penn State because maybe Drew Aller is really struggling and continues to do so, and the receivers aren't as good as I or others thought preseason. So Indiana can actually lock them down out there. And for Oregon, I think if Oregon, say their run defense isn't fixed, Indiana can actually run downhill now. And then what they could do is they could limit possessions and take the energy out of the crowd and slowly, methodically move. It's insane. It's crazy how good they are.
Could Penn State beat Indiana if Drew Aller threw for less than 250 yards?
Oh man, let's see. I want to say both yes and no. The thing that I would go to is, oh my gosh, I can't even answer that, which just shows how good Indiana is.
Well, and I guess that's where I'm at with like top 5, because here we go. You know, Drew Aller has not thrown for 250 yards in 16 games.
Yes.
Since USC, it was the last time he did it. So it's like, I think Indiana could hold Drew to under 250. And with that in mind, I think Indiana could win. Again, I would pick Penn State, but it's a trickier like gymnastics thing I've been doing in my head all day, Sam. I've been doing it all not just all day, actually. Since I watched the beatdown they put on Illinois on Saturday, I've been like going in my head and like working through it. I think they're I think they're a really good team for college football too.
Yes. Oh yeah. And what's even better is I think Cignetti has the money and the support to stay there for years. Like, why would you leave for Florida? I just don't see why you would.
Only thing that makes sense is leaving for Clemson. Jokes.
I was going to say, yeah, probably a joke. They're not getting Big Ten revenue share.
No. I was just making jokes because I love watching Dabo Swinney's demise fully televised.
Let's talk about that for 5 minutes, because
let's do it.
That really shocked me. Little off topic from where I wanted to go, but how shocked were you after that Syracuse game and the start of the season?
Part of me was shocked, but I brought it up with Zach. Their availability report after losing to Georgia Tech, and the way Georgia Tech, which oddly enough plays an extremely physical brand of football, they'll beat you up. Clemson was down like 3 offensive linemen that play a good amount, 2 receivers that play a good amount. Like they were their availability report looked like a CVS receipt. Like it was long, man. Like it was really long after that game. And what I'll say, I was surprised with. I was surprised how easy Syracuse made it look. I watched the full game. Syracuse made it look easy, Sam. That's what surprised me. Not that they won, but how easy it looked. And then you hear comments from Clemson players today, like we're no longer playing for record. I'm playing so that my family isn't ashamed of me, essentially. And it's just odd messaging coming out of Clemson. Yeah, Sam, it blew me away. But I was shocked how easy Syracuse made it look. Maybe not surprised that Clemson lost. It is funny because right now they look and feel like last year's Florida State team, don't they?
Exactly. So
it's been wild to watch them kind of fall off, because some people, myself included, thought they were going to be a Final Four team this year.
Yeah, I had them in my top 4 power ratings, and they're 1-3, and there's nothing to them. I mean,
nothing encouraging.
No, there isn't. It's like if they played the way Penn State does every week, except they don't have. They look like a G5 team.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
The win over Troy was ugly, Sam. They were getting outplayed for 2.5 quarters.
So bad.
So bad.
So it was, you know, it was disgusting. They couldn't pass protect against Troy. That's why the pick 6 happened. It was a batted ball in the end zone that was caught by like a defensive lineman or some crap. Yeah, my gosh. It's just that offensive line. And I would even say defensive line after that Syracuse game. That has to be the most disappointing lines of scrimmage that we've seen. I mean, last year's Florida State was pretty disappointing, but I think it's more disappointing than that with all the NFL production that's on that D-line and O-line.
Yeah, I mean, what, like 2 of PFF's top 10 players and 3 guys that are projected to be picks 1 through 3? Yeah, like, they're horrible.
Yeah. I don't see how they're going to... I mean, they could go bowling, but look, their season's over. Their preseason hopes are dead, essentially.
Bingo.
You think that Sweeney has entered the late Mark, by the late, I don't mean dead. I mean to phrase that in the way of like Mark D'Antonio's final few years where
That's
things
what it
just,
feels like. That's what it feels like. Like you're a legend. You had success here, but we would all be shocked, bamboozled, baffled if you ever had success again. So yeah, no, that's a great comp. That's where I think he is right now.
Dabo Swinney, never been the same since he called a team that beat him 49-28 in the postseason, the 10th best team in America. It's just complete toxicity,
A
everything that's happened since that.
a grave mistake from him.
A massive, grave mistake. Another grave mistake of hiring Tom Allen, who I didn't even have as a top 25 defensive coordinator, and I didn't think he'd be this bad.
Yeah, he's horrible. You know what? You know what? Can I? This is what I heard. I heard that I heard that the linebackers can't understand him when he gives a call through the headset. I said that I've heard from two different people all across two different schools that it is a growing problem. They have no idea what he's saying on the headset. So that green dot is a curse.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that is some final years Mark D'Antonio stuff.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
what
they have no clue what's being said. Linebacker just up there willy nilly. I have no clue what he said. Trying to decode it. They
Yeah.
tried to go to a simpler naming system, is what I was told, but I heard that everyone's having a really tough time understanding him. And I guess at Penn State they took away his duties and gave it to somebody else that could speak more clearly.
Oh my gosh. I mean, that to me, and this is where we can go next to talk about oh no, we're talking about that at the end actually, but Alabama Georgia's up next.
Yeah.
But that vindicates a little bit my opinion of going from Tom Allen to Jim Knowles. I always thought it was going to be this massive upgrade.
Yeah.
But Penn State fans, to their credit, a lot of fan bases are wrong about stuff like that because they're inherently biased. But some of them were correct in the fact that he held that defense back. And I think you're seeing it with Clemson now, where Penn State's culture and defensive infrastructure and talent and position coaches are actually that good, and Clemson's aren't. And he goes there and everything. I mean, he's just as bad as Wes Goodwin was last year. And Goodwin was awful.
Yeah. He's horrible, dude.
Yeah. My gosh, gibberish in the headset.
That's a good nugget for the culture. Gibberish in the headset, having a tough time understanding it.
Yeah, it's so bad. Alabama versus Georgia. Georgia, I'm shocked it's 2.5. Opened up at 3.5. Alabama, they lost to Florida State. It looked like total dog water, and I'm still a little bit suspicious of them, but they'd be favored neutral field per FPI. I think S&P Plus would favor them neutral field as well. Kirby Smart has only beaten Alabama once since 2016 when he stepped on the field to be Georgia's coach, but Kalen DeBoer can't beat a mobile quarterback at Alabama, and he can't usually win on the road. So something's going to break and give here. What do you say about that?
I'm picking Alabama. And I've been back and forth with this. I think that Ty Simpson has somehow become the most underrated quarterback nationally because of how Bama has looked, but it hasn't really been him. He's been really good. And I have some serious questions about the Georgia passing defense as a whole. Now, obviously, like we saw Florida State out physical Bama, and that's something that my eyes, I think, felt broken by because for forever we really haven't seen Alabama get out physical because, during our years watching football, it was Nick Saban's team, and that never happened in Nick Saban's team during our really formative years. So that was like kind of a mind-breaking thing. But I like Alabama's passing attack, like their downfield passing attack more than I did last year. And last year it was too much for Georgia. I also am getting a really weird feeling about Georgia this year, and I'm hoping to watch enough tape to somehow put my finger on it. But I think DeBoer gets it done, and then I think we start to hear more about the does Kirby have a Bama problem? Because now that's back-to-back losses to DeBoer after we knew you had a Nick Saban problem before. So I'm going Alabama, but of all my picks, is the one I'm the least confident in.
That makes sense. I have no idea where to go here. I picked Georgia because I think they have the better coach and they're the team at home. That's kind of why I picked Georgia. And then the rationale and logic, if that's even what it is behind it, is that Alabama's defense is good until they play a mobile QB, and if there's one thing Georgia is better at than they were last year, it's running the football, and probably offense overall. Their receiver core is so much better. Stockton in the run game, along with probably a more consistent offensive line, helps them run the football better. And against Tennessee, they nearly lost. I mean, you could even argue they should have lost, but a lot of those were, downfield bombs that were 50-50 balls, and most of them went Tennessee's way. Now, Chris Brazzell did that over and over and over again. So when you do it over and over again, at some points it's as if this may not be a fluke here. This may just be a part of this guy's game.
Bingo.
I don't know if Alabama has that. I think their receivers are a little bit more, finesse, snapping, like by snapping, I mean just like snap, they're here, they're quick, they're fast. But I think Georgia's the more physical team. I think that they're the deeper team. They're at home. And Smart, has an Alabama problem, and maybe I just have a problem with, picking these one-sided games when the team that struggles is at home.
Yeah.
Because, I've never picked Michigan to beat Ohio State in the horseshoe, and I don't know if I ever will. It's kind of the same thing here, if I'm being honest. I mean, Georgia's more talented roster, better staff. Like, they should win. So that's kind of what I'm going with, but I like what you had to say, because there was a point where I was favoring Alabama too. And if the line were 3.5 or 4.5, I would say on my channel, not as someone placing the bet, but just as someone picking the spread as everyone does, I'd say, Bama would cover. I think Georgia wins by 1 to 3 points is kind of what I'm seeing here. A really close, competitive game.
I also think Mike Bobo stinks. So I generally have a tough time picking Mike Bobo. And maybe that's my own issues. But I think losing Todd Monken, they're going to feel that at some point. They need to feel it more now. I think Bobo's horrendous. So that's my separate, like, vindictive football take too. So I'm going Alabama, Sam. So we differ there. But again, of all the picks, this is one I'm least confident in.
I'm not confident in this one either. And there's the other thing too, where I don't want to question Glenn Schumann, but outside of 2022, those defenses have never been elite. Like, Jesse Minter has been better. Jim Knowles has been better. I would argue Manny Diaz has been better. If Heatherman continues this at Miami, that track record's more impressive.
Pete Kwiatkowski.
Bingo. Like, I'm not saying he's a bad DC. I think he's one of the best, but I'm starting to question that a little bit, and I don't like it.
It feels like almost identical to
what?
It almost feels identical to when Kirby Smart went to Georgia, and Pete Golden took over. At Alabama. That's what it feels like, right? Because Glenn Schumann took over for Dan Lanning.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like to me sometimes. And, like, when you would say it early about Pete Golden, it'd be like, oh, you're out of your mind. But, like, the further we get away from Dan Lanning, the further we can maybe acknowledge that they're not as good as they once were. So just some food for thought for the comparers.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the College Football Nerds film review of Alabama's defense against LSU in 2022, where they're rolling out with Golding a 1-5-5 defense, and LSU's just running into it like it's nothing?
No, I have not seen it.
Their reactions to it are priceless. And not to take too many shots at Nebraska, because I love their fan base, but that's what their defense looks like. That's what it looked like against Cincy, against Michigan. It's like you're rolling out one nose tackle, and everyone else is a linebacker, safety, or corner.
Mm-hmm.
So bad. They're 124th at yards allowed per carry on defense.
We talked about it when we did our preview a while back that would be a problem for them this year.
Yes. Yeah, their D line is tiny, and it's not deep. And their linebackers are like smaller, speedier guys too. So it goes throughout all levels. It's not just
I took that and I won a bet against my producer Pat. He had to eat one of the one chip challenge on the show because he picked Michigan to beat Nebraska. He picked Nebraska to beat Michigan, and I picked Michigan to beat Nebraska, and ended up winning the bet. So it ended up being a good show.
Yeah, I was so scared watching that game as a Michigan fan, but earlier in the week, I couldn't help myself but think objectively Michigan should win here, just like how objectively
Yes.
Oklahoma should beat them. It's just things fit. And you
Hmm.
saw it. I mean, if that game gets played again, Michigan probably wins by an average of 10 points instead of 3, with just how dominant that rushing
Yeah.
attack was.
I mean, the Hail Mary at the end of the first half kind of gave a false sense of hope to Nebraska, but that game was dominated by Michigan, like dominated by them.
I wanted to fire someone after that Hail Mary. It was so
Yeah.
bad. So bad. Last game to talk about here, Oregon versus Penn State. Penn State's favored by 3.5 points. Public, a lot of analysts, a lot of people are over Oregon here, and a lot of them were on Penn State in the preseason. It's somewhat understandable given how Oregon's looked versus how Penn State's looked in the efficiency metrics and models. But what say you on this game between the Ducks and the Nittany Lions?
Um, I've had a really tough time with this game, Sam. I'll be completely honest. Penn State, for me, preseason was a top 3 team. I thought that Drew Aller was going to take a pretty significant leap. I really liked this offensive line coming into the year. I thought the offensive line, the experience, the portal additions receiver, like I thought this team would be mowing teams down, and they kind of haven't done that. But at home, in the whiteout, Sam, I'm picking Penn State. And it's funny because I haven't even done this in Menace yet. I'm picking Penn State to win this game. I thought to myself, maybe is this like the Dante Moore coming out party nationally? Is this where we sort of see him on the Heisman list? But I think the addition of Jim Knowles, this was the game he was hired to win. And I think Penn State. I got Penn State, Sam. I do.
Oh, thank goodness. I have, I don't know if you know what my prediction is, but I picked Penn State to win by 10.
Okay.
I'm
By 10 feels bold. I got him winning by between 3 and 7.
Yeah.
But I am picking Penn State, and I like when we pick the same. It makes me feel like, because you're really intelligent, and I think I
Thanks.
know the sport pretty well, so it makes me feel good about it. The more I watch both, and the more I like do like a roster analysis, I think I just like Penn State more right now.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. See, you made me feel more confident about my pick just now, because I feel insane looking at these rosters, and
Yeah.
I have my like blue light glasses on, and it's like I don't want to compare myself to a DC because they have like 200 IQ points on me, but I'm with like my paper, my notes with the PFF grades, and I'm kind of staring hunched over at my computer looking at these teams, and I'm thinking everything that went Penn State's way last year in the Big Ten title game, they have widened the gap from Oregon there. And everything that hurt them, they've closed the gap. So Brycen Moore, love the guy. I've been hearing about him all week, and in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, but who's wide receiver 2, 3, and 4?
And 4.
I mean, you got Malik Benson, Jeremiah McClellan, Kyler Casper. None of them are better than Penn State's starting 3. So Penn State could be deeper at wide receiver. We know the running back room. We know the offensive line, which per PFF, and you can use PFF because the strength of schedules are almost identical. So sadly, they don't count for strength of schedule, but in this instance, it's so close that it's minuscule. Penn State grades out better there. And Aller, he's only been hitting, I heard this on my previous live show tonight. At the time of this recording, he's only hit the deep ball 9% of the time. And he's only had one designed run. Do you actually think his QBR is correct in that he is right now not even a top 100 quarterback? Or do you think that they are hiding, like kind of what Alabama did against Georgia last year, where they hit an entire formation and just rolled it out, and it killed that defense? Do you think they're hiding? Not half the playbook, because that doesn't happen, but like wrinkles, or they're saving their energy?
I think we're going to see the best version of Drew. I think the mistake Oregon's going to make is going into this game and daring Drew to beat them. And I think that's going to end up, because I think when Drew gets hot, like we've seen him get hot at times, like he got hot against Ole Miss. I thought he threw the ball pretty well against Oregon a year ago. It was just really tight windows. I think that it's going to be a mistake leaving this group of receivers one-on-one against Kotelnicki and daring Drew to beat you. I think, you can convince yourself that, oh, this kid is not able to hit the deep ball, but we've seen it before, and at some point it's going to come. So Drew is not out of the top 100 quarterbacks, Sam. Keep it a stack. He's in the top 15 quarterbacks. And if you give him one-on-ones, I think at home with the adrenaline, I think that they're going to hit a couple of those. And I think that's going to be a real shell shock moment for Oregon, because I think that they're counting on him to be bad to win this game.
Yeah. And that's kind of what that's what confuses me, if I'm being honest. I mean, I texted it to a very reliable sports bettor friend of mine, Bald Father Betts. I featured him on the channel before. I was talking back and forth with him, and I was saying Oregon's plastered teams, but Penn State's also winning by 40, 45 points while looking lifeless. There is an argument, and a stronger argument probably, that what Oregon's doing is more impressive. But if Penn State is beating teams by 40, 50 points with a C or D game, what happens if their A game is what we think it is?
Their
And
full attention. What happens when you get the full attention of Penn State?
Yeah, exactly. And sorry if I sound like to the viewers or something, maybe dismissive of Oregon. I'm not. So many said they wouldn't be capable of winning it all this year. I disagreed with that. I just think that this spot is so tough for them, having to travel 2,000 miles to a hostile environment. And in that regard, it's not like Ohio State, Oregon last year. But the difference was Ohio State was better than Oregon last year. And it took a tackle going down and the team getting shell-shocked by the crowd as a combo for Oregon to win by 1 point. Here, I feel like Penn State, on top of having those advantages, is the better roster right now.
Bingo.
And they have the best coordinator. Oregon is the worst coordinator. And that's where I'm picking Penn State to win by 10. And it almost feels conservative. And I'm going with it because I think Oregon's looked better. But I feel like Penn State could really, if they're the team I predicted them to be in the preseason and think they can be, I think they can really bust this open if they start right and Oregon gets a little, oh my gosh, I didn't think they'd be this good. And I think if Oregon somehow wins or even dominates, as some have said, if you're picking Oregon to win by 10 points, for example, in this game, and you're listening to this, you should bet on them immediately to win it all. Because if they win like that in this environment, I don't think Ohio State's beating them. I don't think Georgia's beating them. No one will beat them because this is their toughest test. And since they're so young, they're only going to get better.
Right.
Am I wrong on any of those counts?
No, you're right. I echo it entirely. If Oregon wins this game handily, they're immediately the national title favorites. Immediately. That's the most impressive win in the country by a wide margin, and they're the best team in the country by a wide margin, I think. So,
yeah, it'd be the most impressive regular season win of
Dan's career.
Yeah, and maybe of, don't fact check me on this, but maybe even like the 20s or up there for regular season performances, to go into that environment against a team who the books are high on. That's why everyone is picking Oregon here, and it's still 3.5 points. Just, I'm confused. It feels, and I'm going to make a short video about it. It feels like a lot of Oregon, and I respect them, and I think they're going to be a semifinalist this year. It feels like a lot of their support right now is vibes and a wanting of something.
Vibes football.
Yeah, it's maybe this is too disrespectful, but it kind of feels like what Tom Allen's doing, like through the headset. Yeah. Like it's
vibes, marbles.
It's marbles, it's emotion, it's getting all excited, and I think it'd be cool if Oregon went 16-0, but I don't think it's going to happen. And that's what will happen if they win here by the margin people are picking them to.
I'm agree. I'm on the same page. I feel better about my Penn State pick than I do my Alabama pick. So, I just like them more. Is kind of what it boils down to. I like them more.
Yeah, I still like them to win it all. Could be wrong. So much more confident they win this game than the Ohio State game for a variety of reasons, of course.
Yeah.
Where do you think like Zach would lean in this game?
I think Zach and Pat are both leaning Oregon, but I will talk to them. Our final picks day is Thursday after the show, and then we'll go on air with it Friday.
Interesting. Okay. I know that Pate, I think, is like the only big voice that's picking Oregon. I know Piquel, or picking Penn State. I know Piquel's Oregon. PFF guys are Oregon. It, I.
Well, you're a big guy. You're going Penn State. I'm pretty big. I'm going Penn State. We're big. We're Penn State.
You're right. We're big. We're big. Yeah. We're going Penn State, and I'm hoping to be just as right as I was about that Indiana pick. It just feels like the amount of people picking Oregon here is a little bit of a, combined with the matchup, I think could be a kiss of death. Mm-hmm. Not in the blowout sense, because I think Oregon will compete, but in the sense of like, oh boy, wow, how did we get this wrong type moment. Is there anything else you want to mention before we get on out of here?
No, just that I appreciate you, and you do really good work. That's it. I'm always happy to be a part of your show.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you for joining too. It's why I have you on. I should have you on more, honestly. Yeah. I'll try to get you on more very quickly for our viewer base, because we at College Football with Sam love having you on. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, go on Menace to Sports, Dead Air Sports, just anything that Kris is a part of, and give those a subscription, hit the notification bell, like those videos, do all those things. We're chasing 100,000 subscribers here on College Football with Sam. And based on really this past month, I think that one day we'll hit that. So support us in our journey. Thank you very much, and we'll see you all very soon.